Abraham Lincoln is often remembered as the Great Emancipator. He reinvented the Civil War from a war to save the Union to one to end slavery, and once he said, "Slavery is founded in the selfishness of man's nature. Opposition to it is in his love of justice." But to Lincoln, there was a profound difference between being against enslavement and being for equality. The 16th President of the United States didn't even want to live amongst freed Black Americans. Instead, Lincoln wanted emancipated slaves to be sent to a different country, to an American colony that would be called Linconia. Here is the story of the US President's plan for the transportation of freed slaves to Panama. And this is Crown Undone. Since the beginning of his political career, Abraham Lincoln had been a staunch supporter of the American Colonization Society, an organization founded by the Presbyterian clergyman Robert Finley in 1816, which sought to repatriate emancipated slaves and freeborn people of color to Africa. The society aimed to address the fallacy that people of color, most of whom had already been living in the US for generations, were not capable of integrating into American society. Obviously, African Americans and genuine proponents of abolition were shocked by the proposal, and between 1821 and 1847, only a few thousand freed slaves emigrated to the Western African settlements that would later become Liberia. This plan, though, to send people of color back to Africa wasn't even a new idea. Founded in 1786, London's Committee for the Relief of the Black Poor advocated for the transportation of the impoverished Black British community to the newly established African colony of Sierra Leone. Although this scheme was also obviously rooted in racism, there were activists involved who seemed to genuinely believe that the plan could show the pro-slavery lobby that Black people could help govern a new colony. In the end, only about 276 passengers actually arrived on the shores of Sierra Leone. On the 14th of August, 1862, Lincoln became the first politician to invite African Americans to the White House to discuss a policy matter. The president wanted to convince his guests to back a plan for emancipated slaves to be resettled on 10,000 acres of present-day Panama. He decided that Panama would be the ideal place for the establishment of a US colony where Black Americans could lead better lives by earning a living mining coal for the US Navy. Lincoln astonishingly said to the delegation, "You and we are different races, and have between us a broader difference than exists between almost any other two races. But for your race among us, there could not be war, and without the institution of slavery and the colored race as a basis, the war could not have an existence." Lincoln explained that his plan needed intelligent colored men capable of thinking as white men, and not those who have been systematically oppressed. The delegation's chairman, Edward Thomas, promised that he would hold a consultation and in a short time give an answer. By then, Congress had already allocated $100,000 to resettle free slaves from Washington, then $500,000 to repatriate slaves whose owners were disloyal to the country, and then the House Select Committee on Emancipation and Colonization recommended that $20 million be appropriated to transport confiscated slaves beyond US borders. On the 28th of August, 1862, Lincoln accepted Kansas Senator Samuel C. Pomeroy's offer to arrange emigration parties of Black Americans who would be willing to travel to Central America, and an agreement was even signed with the landowner Ambrose W. Thompson to begin developing the Panama mines where the emigrants would work. Hundreds of American people of color sold their belongings and gave up their homes to make the trip, motivated by the promise of a better life and a guaranteed income. Amid staunch opposition throughout the anti-slavery world, including Frederick Douglass's comment that the President of the United States seems to possess an ever-increasing passion for making himself appear silly and ridiculous, the daily newspaper, The National Republican, published an editorial called The Colony of Linconia. The paper reported that the necessary arrangements for founding a colony on a grand scale have been completed. In the weeks that followed, as Thompson's rights to the Panama mines were called into doubt, and representatives from Costa Rica, Nicaragua, and Honduras formally objected to the scheme, Lincoln's fantasy of Linconia was quickly fading away. Despite the fact that Samuel Pomeroy claimed to have found 500 so-called pioneers who had volunteered to make the trip, Lincoln abandoned the idea, probably realizing that he couldn't possibly expect the people who had fought for the US in the Civil War to then be practically exiled from the country, and the president never again publicly mentioned the scheme. That was the US president's plan for the transportation of freed slaves to Panama, and this was crown undone.